Hi, in this lesson, we will see how to deploy a web application developed using Django to Python Anywhere. Python Anywhere is a cloud platform. It allows you to deploy your applications and it does support Django. In fact, you don't have to install Django because Python Anywhere supports batteries included concept. And in this, it is providing Django and many other commonly used libraries. What you have to do is first create a free account in Python Anywhere. Of course, if you're planning to do big, if you're planning to provide more features through your application, you can go for paid account as well. I've just created a very simple free account and my username is Pragada Srikant and I logged into it and this is my dashboard. I don't have any web application right now. You can see here, I don't have any web apps and it allows me to create only one web application. We'll see how to create it. But before we come to this, we have to prepare our web application for deployment to production server. So what do we do? Let's go to my application. This is my website and it is fully functioning in my local system. I'm running it with the Django development server. Everything is fine. You can see my Django development server is running at port number 8000 and here it is. I'm accessing that and it shows this welcome message. If I click on this, it's going to show me the home page. I can click on list. I can do all sorts of things. This is fine. So in the local system, my application is working fine. But now I have to take it to Python Anywhere. And I have a blog which is going to list out the steps we have to take in order to deploy a Django project to Python Anywhere. So let's go and take these steps one by one. The first step is to prepare your project in local system. Well, you have to prepare your project. So let's go to my application. So here is my project, a Django project with only one application called books. And the name of the project is website. And as you know, we get a folder with the same name, both outside and inside. And this is the most important file, settings.py, because we need to make some changes in settings before we deploy this application. To start with, you have to go down and specify in allowed host what is that you want to support, and you may use localhost because you're testing in your local host, but this is my eventual host. So this is the name of the user, then pythonanywhere.com. This is the way Python Anywhere is providing URL username.pythonanywhere.com. Well, make sure you do this. This is step one. Number two, of course, you have your application added. This was already done. No need to change it. And then the next important thing is if you're planning to use SQLite, well, that's what I'm using for this project. It uses SQLite database. Of course, Python Anywhere supports MySQL. You can upgrade this to MySQL if you like. But our focus is on deploying a simple Django application to a real world server such as Python Anywhere. So I'm not focusing much on database part of it. But here you need to use this str because by default you don't get this. And this can cause issues if you don't give this. So make sure you give this str when you're dealing with this directory and the file. Well, this is an important thing. So make sure you put it. Well, my blog is listing out all those steps one by one. And here you can see that. And then this is where you have it. Okay. So depending on what is your username, you have to give that. In my case, my username is so and so. I mean, Pragada Srikant. So I'm giving that. Now moving down, the next important thing, as I mentioned, is this using str. Well, the next thing is right at the bottom, you need to include this because the way static files are rendered in real world server is different from the way it is handled by Django development server. So we need to take all the static files and put them in one folder, and for that we need to mention static root. So that's what we have to do, and this is how I put it. I want static files folder to be used to keep all static files, so I'm giving the name static files as the name of the folder. That's it. This is all that you need to do. And one more thing which you want to do after it is deployed is change this from true to false. You don't want to run it in debug mode in production system. And in fact, it is clearly given here. Don't run with the debug turned on in production. So you can turn it off. In fact, you can do it even after it is deployed. Okay, so that is first step. And the second step is you have to collect all your static files into the static files folder. Let's see how that is done. I'm going to stop my server, and this is my folder website, and I can give a command like this: python manage.py collect static, and this is going to take all the static files related to all applications in this project, and it will put it in the folder static files because I mentioned static files as the folder name. And go give that. It is saying 133 static files copied. In fact, I don't have those many static files, but if you go and see this, it is copying styles.css, the only static file I'm using in my project, but a lot of them are coming from admin. In fact, you don't need it. If you're not using admin application of Django, you can delete this. But for now, we leave it. But you can delete that because it's not needed. Okay, so we got everything ready. Now, the next step, as you can see in the blog, is to create a zip file. There are different ways in which you can deploy your Django application to Python anywhere. One of the options is to create a zip file and then upload the zip file to Python anywhere and unzip it there. The other option is to create a repository in GitHub, push everything from your local system to GitHub, and from there you can take it to Python anywhere, because Python anywhere allows you to clone any public repo. Okay, but for now I'm using zip file option. Now let's create a zip file for this folder. So click on that, right click, WinZip, and add website.zip. And it is going to create website.zip. That's all we need. Done. So you got a file which you can upload to Python anywhere. And then in Python anywhere, we have to configure this as a web application. Let's see how those steps go. Let's go to Python anywhere, and you need to go to the dashboard and go to files, select files. Well, I assume you already have an account and you logged into that account, and I'm logging into my account, that is Pragada Srikanth. That's the reason the URL is going to be pragadasrikanth.pythonanywhere.com. Now here you need to upload. Now I'm removing what is already there, and I'm going to upload the file. I'm going to upload this website.zip, which is just 650 KB, and it allows you to upload up to 100 MB. That's a lot. Well, anyway, website.zip is uploaded. Now, what you need to do is you need to go and unzip it. But how do you unzip this? To do that, we need to open what is called as console. So go to consoles, and here you need to select bash, and you can open bash console, which is nothing but your terminal or your command prompt. So click on this. If it is already opened, it shows it like this, and you can start the console by just clicking on this bash console. It's going to start the console. It is providing you your folder. If you see using pwd, well, the commands are Unix commands, so you have to be familiar with that, especially if you're a Windows user. Get used to it. pwd is present working directory. So Python Anywhere is providing you a home folder like this. This is where you have to place your files. Now I already got my website.zip. So all that I need to do is unzip it. So I just need to say unzip website.zip. That's it. It's going to unzip it. And as a result, it is creating a folder called website. So there is a folder called website. You can get into that and see what is inside that. And this is what you have. Well, you can see the same even from your files. You can move to files, and here in Python Anywhere, you can go back to your files and you can open it in a new tab. That's always better. Keep multiple things open. Let's go here. Now you got website. You can see under directories, you see website as a directory. Click on that. You're going to see the files, manage.py and your database, nothing else. And your static files is already containing all static files. In website, you have settings.py. If you click on that, you can see that. Well, we made necessary changes there. In case if you have to make any change, you can click on this and you can make change here also. Okay, so what else? You uploaded the zip file and unzipped it in Python Anywhere. Now you have an application in this folder that is website. Now let's go and create a new web application. Now let's click on this. Let's open in a new tab. And it shows that you have no web applications right now. So let's create a new web application. So click add a new web application. Now it's asking you about what you want, and your account does not support custom domain names because we are using the free account for now. But if you want, you can upgrade and have your own domain name. But for now, I'm okay with pragadashrikant.pythonanywhere.com. So I click on next to continue. And it's asking me which framework I want to use. I don't select any of them. Instead, I go for manual configuration. So click on that. You can experiment with remaining options, but I suggest go with this because we already have an application. Everything is ready. We just need to make Python Anywhere understand that we have an application in so and so folder. That's it. Let's go and click on this. And then it's asking which version of Python would you like to use. I want to use 3.8. Depending on your requirements, you can select. Now let's go ahead. You can create a virtual environment if you're planning to have something completely separate from the rest. You can have your own libraries in that. But I'm okay with the existing environment. I don't want to create a separate virtual environment. But that is possible. So let's go. And you are all set to configure your web application. Now it's creating a web application. This is going to be the URL for that. But right now it is not ready. So let's go down and select the code. This is the first step. There you need to mention where is your web application. So let's click on that and give /home/pragadashrikant/website, because you know that's where we placed our application. So click on this It's done. And I don't have to change this. But this is where I have to make some changes. This is important. So click on this and it's going to open the editor. All that you need to do is you need to go down and you need to make some changes. In fact, there are so many things which are not relevant. We don't have to worry about them. And we need to make changes only related to Django. So wherever you have some Django related code, just uncomment it. So these are the things I'm going to uncomment. And this is not my site, it is website. And then we need to change these things and also this, and here it is not my site, it is just giving my site, but change it to website or whatever is the name of your project. And that's it. You have to change these things. So make sure you change all these things correctly. This is the way you have to do it. So you uncommented all those lines which are important, and we are only concerned about Django. In fact, the rest of the stuff you can remove. You can remove the remaining things because they are not important. You can remove all that stuff. So I'm going to remove all that. So I'm getting rid of all this unnecessary stuff. Even this is gone. And this is virtual environment and all that is gone. And this is related to Flask. We're not using it, so gone. This is all that I need to have. So make sure you change those things correctly. So this is your website and this is website.settings because our project is website. So we need to call it as website.settings. That's the module where we have all the settings. Now click on save. We are done. And then you can go back to your web application. And now if you go down, there is one more thing you have to change here, static file. What is the URL? The URL is generally static and we do have the same. So we just leave it like this, /static/. And when it comes to the path, we have to give this. And we need to give /home/Pragada Srikanth / we have to make sure everything is given correctly. And then we say website/static files. So this is where all your static files are placed. So double check that you have given everything correctly. This is static, that is the URL. This is the directory. Static files is the directory. That's it. And you don't have to change anything else. For now, everything looks good. And all that you need to do is you need to reload this. But there's one more thing. Your application might be using some custom libraries. If your application is using any custom libraries, you need to install them. In my case, this is using Django REST framework. So I have to go and install Django REST framework. And be careful here when you talk about this bash. When you talk about running the Python or pip, you have to always use the version. Python 3 is about Python 3. If you give Python, you end up getting Python 2.7. Be careful. This is not what we want. So come out and you have to use Python 3 if you're planning to use Python console. But I'm interested in pip. So I want to use pip 3. And then you have to see whether you have the required libraries already listed. When you go and list, you get a big list of libraries. And if you go up and see right there, you can find your Django. And Django is already there. In fact, Django REST framework is already there because I already installed a Django REST framework. But if you don't have it there, now use pip to install it. Let's clear this and say pip3. Don't forget that it's pip3. Then you need to say install Django REST framework. And you need to say it is for current user. So here I mentioned it clearly in my blog. This is what you need to do. Let's go to my blog and this is where you can see that. So when you talk about installation, you need to give it pip3 install Django REST framework and --user. That's what you need to give. So make sure you do that here in the bash. So --user. Actually, I don't have to do it because already I installed Django REST framework. And even if I try to do it, it says it's already existing. So you can give a try. And it is saying the requirement is already satisfied. Well, great. Now all set to go. And now you go there, web application, and click on reload. After any change you make, you have to reload this. So after you made all these changes to settings, you have to click on reload. Once you reloaded your web application, you're ready to run it. Just click on this. This is the URL for your application. Just click on that. It's going to start. And this is my first page. And then if I click on that, it is going to take me into my books application. And you are seeing your CSS in action. Sometimes you don't get your CSS in the right form. Maybe your static files folder is not properly created or not properly configured. So make sure you take the steps related to static files correctly. Now everything is fine, and this is using the local database, that is SQLite 3, and you can go and check everything. In fact, it is also providing REST API, and you can use REST API in order to communicate with this application from anywhere. Now, just to demonstrate how to use REST API, I have something like this REST client, and this is a simple HTML page with a jQuery that is communicating with my REST API. Now I can go and then I can say that will never work. It's a book by Mark and some price, and click on add. It is added. Now if you go back to your application, I go back to list here, and you can see that is displayed. So this is the way your application can be deployed. Now it is running in Python anywhere, not in your local system. So this is, according to me, the easiest and the best way to get started with deployment of a Django application. Of course, if you want to enhance it and add more, go to your dashboard. You can think of using a database like MySQL, because it does provide MySQL. You can create a database and start using it, and you can upgrade your account and get more features from Python anywhere. And I personally prefer Python anywhere for beginners, because I've used a few other platforms like Heroku and others, but I feel Python anywhere is making your life pretty easy. So get started, build a small application, deploy that to Python anywhere, and give this URL to your friends and let them access it from anywhere in the world. That's pretty exciting, and give it a try. All the very best. Keep learning, keep growing.